All right. So yeah, so today we'll talk a bit more about what Kubernetes is, and and there is an agenda. We will discuss this agenda before the session, and we will understand why is it necessary to learn the Kubernetes platform. Okay. So before that, I'm just wanted to give you a quick intro of myself. I'm Arvind. I'm working as a senior solutions architect, and I have almost like 16 plus years of experience. And I'm currently working on container platforms like Kubernetes, OpenShift, and HP, Esmeralda, and all those sort of container technologies. And I'm also Red Hat certified architect, level 2 architect, and I'm also Kubernetes certified administrator. Okay. So that's a quick intro about myself, and I have been associated with Amrita from past close to 15 years. I started my career as a full-time faculty in Amrita, and then slowly I moved from a full-time faculty to a part-time faculty. Okay, and I'll be taking care of. From Amrita perspective, I'll be taking care of all CKA trainings and OpenShift trainings. Okay. Okay, with that, let's move to the agenda for today. In this agenda, we'll first talk about, before talking what Kubernetes is, I just wanted to give you a quick intro to what a container is so that you will understand and correlate what we are discussing in this webinar. And with that, we will also see the major difference between a container and a VM. And then we will also see the benefits of containers. And then we will move on to the Kubernetes. So we will do a quick intro to Kubernetes, and then we will also understand what Kubernetes is all about, and then we will talk about the features of Kubernetes, and then we will also see where we can run this Kubernetes platform, on which platforms or which environment you can run this Kubernetes, and then we will also see why we need to learn Kubernetes. That's a question mark that everyone has. We will also try to address that to understand why we need to learn Kubernetes. And then we will also spend some time on understanding the Kubernetes certifications. And then we will also see what are the trainings that we can provide from Amrita perspective. And finally, we can wrap up with the Q&A. Okay, so this is a quick, agenda what we will be covering for today's session. Okay, so let's move on. So let's understand what is a container. Okay, so a container is a standard unit of software that packages up code and all its dependencies. Okay, so that the applications runs quickly and reliably on any compute environment. So we will also talk a bit about these things, like what is the different environments, what is the how container is run on a different platforms. We will discuss this in the upcoming slides. Okay, so basically container is nothing but it's a package of it's a collection of your software and the required binaries. So both are combined and which are both are combined and clubbed and which are run inside a container. So that is what a container is. So if you wanted to run, as an example, like if you wanted to run an application, let's say PHP application. So all it needs is your PHP application code and the PHP runtime. So if you have both of this, you can club this and you can run this in a container. So that's what is all about a container is. Okay. We will also see what is the difference between traditional virtual machine and a container in the upcoming slides. Okay, now, so what's the major difference between a virtual machine and a container? Okay, so if you talk about the virtual machines, probably you have been using these virtual machines from past 2 decades. It can be a VMware environment, it can be a Hyper-V environment, or it can be a Red Hat virtualization environment, or it can be any sort of virtualization, and it can be a type 1 or type 2 hypervisors as well. Okay, now traditionally when you talk about virtual machines, you will have a hardware And on top of the hardware, you will install the hypervisor. It can be ESX or Hyper-V or any sort of hypervisor. And then you will have a operating system, and the kernel runs on top of your hypervisor. And then you have some OS dependencies, and then you create virtual machines and you run the applications inside the virtual machines. So the advantages of virtual machine is, yes, all the VMs are isolated. Whatever VMs that you create, those are all isolated. Okay. But the problem with virtual machines is every virtual machine has its own operating system, right? So if I have 100 virtual machines, I need to install operating systems on all of these 100 virtual machines. And that is because every VM will have an operating system, and it will consume the resources. When I say resources, it can be a CPU, memory, disk, everything. Okay. And again, all the VMs has static compute and memory. So you might not be able to change the resources of the VM on the fly. Okay. But in some hardware and some environments, you can change the memory CPU on the fly. But in most of the scenarios, you have to shut down the VM, and then you have to resize the resources in terms of memory and CPU. Okay. And as I said, the virtual machine has its operating system. The resources it uses is more. So in terms of memory, CPU, and storage as well. So these are the drawbacks of using virtual machines. Okay. And from then we have moved into a container platform. So if you observe container platform, I have hardware, a server. I will be installing the container platform or a container's runtime on an operating system. Now, the containers will use the operating system from the base operating system. You don't have to deploy operating system for each container. So all the containers will leverage on the hypervisor operating system. So that's the advantage of using containers. If you observe on the virtual machines, you need to install operating systems on each VM. But here you don't have to install. All it needs is a host, an operating system, which has the container runtime. If you have the container runtime, you can start creating the containers. Okay. So even if you see the green box, container is nothing but application and operating system dependencies. So in order to run an application, it needs some dependencies, right? So that dependencies will also be copied into the container. So application plus some dependencies will form a container. So as the container doesn't have the operating system, these containers are lightweight. Okay. Hardly your container will be of size 100 MB, 100 to 500 MB, depending upon the size of the image that you are using. But like in legacy, in the traditional environments, virtual machine, if you install an operating system, definitely it needs close to maybe 8 to 10 GB of storage, and it needs a CPU and memory. But in containers, it's in MBs. That's why the containers are lightweight. So coming back to the advantages, right? Again, like VMs, containers are also isolated. You can also isolate your containers. If you are running the container platform in a multi-tenant environment, you can isolate the environment and you can isolate the containers. Okay. And of course, containers use the shared kernel because container doesn't need operating system. It relies on the host operating system or using the shared kernel. And again, these containers, you can elastically increase or decrease the memory and CPU on the fly. So you don't have to bring down the containers, and you don't have to you will not have any downtime in terms of memory and CPU expansion. And as I said, as the container has no operating system, the resources it uses is very low compared to your virtual machines. Okay. So that's a quick, differentiation between virtual machines and container, but there are a lot of difference. There are a lot of things that we need to understand. But these are the core differences that you need to understand whenever you are starting your journey, using your container platform. Okay. Now, so let's talk a bit about the portability. Okay. So now let's talk about the virtual machine portability. So when I say portability, right, the purpose of portability is, let's say if you're running a VM on your laptop, let's say on a laptop, maybe you're using your VMware workstation or Oracle VirtualBox, let's say, okay? So if you want to move that VM either to a bare metal environment or a virtualization environment or to either a private and public cloud environment, these VMs are not portable. So when I say portable, that indicates that, let's say I'm using, let's say I'm running my VM on a laptop. So I can, first of all, it will take time to migrate based on the size of the VM. It takes maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour to migrate a VM to other environments like VMware or bare metal or private clouds. But the problem is, even after migrating your VM onto the different environments, you doesn't know whether the VM works or not on that environment. Maybe I can give you an example. Let's say I'm running a VM on VMware. Okay, and that VM will be using this VMDK format in VMware, right? Similarly, let's say I wanted to move that VM from VMware to, let's say, Hyper-V, but Hyper-V might not use your might not use your VMDK format. It might be using some other format. So where you will not have an option to migrate the VM. The thing is, what you need to do, you need to convert the VM to a format which your Windows hypervisor understands, then you can migrate the VM. So that is the portability that you will never get in a virtual machines. You don't know how that VM behaves on the other environment. So that's the main drawback of virtual machines. So this is addressed in the container platform. So if you observe in the container platform, right, if you observe my last screen, right, what is container? Container is nothing but application code and OS dependencies, right? Now, when you have everything to run an application, right, application and code with dependencies in one container, you can easily move that container to any environment, whether it is a bare metal, whether it is your laptop, whether it is your virtualized environment like VMware ESX or Hyper-V, or private or public cloud. So you will have the portability to move this container from one environment to other environment. So that's the advantage of using containers. So it doesn't depend on where the operating system is running. All it needs is an operating system with container runtime. If you have that, you can run the container anytime. So again, the next thing is the container size is, as I said, it is very, the footprint of the container is very small. It's hardly in terms of 100 MB to 500 MB. First thing is you can easily move because the size is small. And second thing is you will have the portability to move the container from different environments without impacting your application. So that's the key advantage that you get when you use containers. Okay. Now the other advantage is if you have virtualized environment, if you're running a VM, right, probably you might create maybe tens of VMs, maybe 10 VMs or 20 VMs based on its memory and CPU. Okay, but coming to the container environment, you can create hundreds of containers in each server. So as I said, container does not require much resources. You can create more number of containers compared to virtual machines. So you can effectively use your underlying hardware whenever you are using container technology. Okay, so that's how you can effectively use the underlying hardware or physical infrastructure. Okay, and then yeah, so the next question that comes to my, that's a quick intro to what a container is, how the container is different from virtual machines. Now next thing is we need to understand why do we need Kubernetes. Okay, so probably some of you might already been working on maybe on a container environment like Docker, right? Docker or any sort of container environment. But though you have container runtime like Docker, why do we need Kubernetes? That's a question. So let's say if you have few nodes and if you have maybe a few number of containers running on each node, it is easy to manage because you have only two nodes. Each node has two containers or maybe 10-15 containers. So it is easy. It will be easy to manage when you have less number of nodes and when you have only handful of containers. But what if you have hundreds of nodes and thousands of containers running on those 100 nodes? Then it will be a difficult or it will be a challenge to manage all this container environment. So to avoid issues, right? To overcome this issue, we need a orchestration tool which can manage the entire container environment. So if I have an orchestration tool, I can manage this 100 nodes and I can manage this thousands of pods running on this 100 nodes. So that is why you need a orchestration tool to manage the containers which are running across multiple nodes. Okay. Now, so that's when the Kubernetes comes into picture, where Kubernetes can manage the pods running on different environments or running on multiple nodes. Okay. Now, so what does Kubernetes mean? What is Kubernetes? So Kubernetes is a container management system which helps to manage containerized application in various types of environment like physical, virtual, and cloud environment. Okay, so whether as you have seen in the first slide, right, whether you are running it on a physical environment, virtual environment, or any cloud environment, you can run the Kubernetes on any platform. So what is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is a container management platform or an orchestration tool which can manage the container platform, or which can manage all the containers running across multiple nodes. Okay. Now, so yeah. So now let's understand what Kubernetes is, how it has evolved in the market, and who is using it. All those things we will discuss now. So Kubernetes is a Google's brainchild. Okay, that is this Kubernetes was developed by Google, and when they developed, they named it as Borg and Omega, and then Google has donated this Kubernetes to CNCF Foundation, that is Cloud Native Cloud Foundation. Okay, and if you observe, your entire Google infrastructure is running on the containers using Kubernetes. So Google spans almost like billions of containers every week. So that's how the Google is leveraging on container platform to run their business. Okay, and the first version of Kubernetes was developed in 2015, and from there there are a lot of versions they have evolved, and now the current version of Kubernetes is 1.22, if I'm not wrong. Okay, basically this Kubernetes has been developed by Google, and Google is still using the Kubernetes platform or the container platform to run their entire business. Okay, now next thing is, of course, Kubernetes environment is an open source environment. So it's not an enterprise product, it is open source product. When I say open source, you know what's the meaning of open source, right? Open source is like the code is freely available. You can download the code and you can start creating your own software using Kubernetes platform. That is the open source. Okay, so Kubernetes is an open source and it's a portable platform to run your containers. Now, the next thing is, yes, the Kubernetes platform is written on Go language. Again, I've seen a lot of students asking, do they need any programmatic skills to learn the Kubernetes? So the answer is no. So you don't need any special coding skills to maintain the Kubernetes platform. It's all infrastructure piece. You don't have to be a programmer to run and maintain Kubernetes platform. So the answer is no. So you don't have to be a programmer. And the Kubernetes is written in Go language. And then again, as I said, Kubernetes is a container orchestration tool which manages the containers running across multiple nodes or multiple environments. Not only nodes, multiple environments. Maybe few containers can run in cloud and few containers can run on-prem also. So all these things can be managed by Kubernetes platform. And then the other advantage, the most, what you call the core advantage of using a Kubernetes platform is it automates scaling of workloads. Okay, probably let's say you have an application running in a container platform, and you realize that in the peak times your application is a bit slow because there are a lot of requests coming in from the customers. So then in legacy environments, what will you do? You will try to shut down the VM, you will increase the memory and CPU, and then you will power on the VM. That requires downtime, right? So in that case, or if you're using any high available software, like Pacemaker or any sort of high availability, you have to create one more VM, you have to install the software, and you have to add that particular node into the high availability. So these are all time consuming process. But in Kubernetes, everything is automated. So whenever the utilization of the container reaches 80%, Kubernetes environment will automatically scale up your environment. So if you have one pod, and if it's, let's say, if your application utilization reaches to 80%, it automatically spins up one more pod and it adds that pod into the application. It adds the resources to the application so that the resources of application will increase. That's how the automatic scaling is enabled by default in the Kubernetes platform. So you don't need any extra commands, or you don't need to run any manual commands. Everything is being configured in Kubernetes to auto scale the workloads. And then, it also in Kubernetes platform, you have a concept called pods. Pod is nothing but a collection of containers. If you have a set of containers performing a set of activities, you can club those containers to form a pod, and you can scale up and scale down the pods based on the requirement. So that's how you can also logically group the containers, and you can convert that. You can make the group into a pods. So that's how you can also leverage on Kubernetes platform to group the containers. Okay. Yeah. And moving on, let's also discuss about the benefits of containerization platform like Kubernetes. The first one that comes to our mind is Kubernetes platform is consistent, okay, and it has isolated environment. So as we have seen in the first slide, the containers which are running in the Kubernetes platform, you can isolate them, and you can the multi-tenant features is also enabled in the Kubernetes platform. So whenever a tenant logs in, he will get all the access to his containers, and he will not be able to access the resources on the other namespaces or projects. Okay. And the second advantage is faster deployment. So using Kubernetes, you can deploy your application much faster than your legacy virtual environment. So if you take probably to install an application, to install and configure an application on a virtual machine, it will need at least 1 day. But when you wanted to deploy an application in Kubernetes platform, it hardly needs 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. So that's how you can fastly or quickly deploy the application on Kubernetes platform. Okay. And then third one is, as I said, using Kubernetes, you can run the Kubernetes on any platform, whether it is on-prem, public clouds, private cloud, including your hybrid clouds. Okay. And the next one is you can repeat and automate the tasks that you are performing on the Kubernetes platform. So you don't have to rewrite the application, definition files. It's all you don't have to repeatedly do the activities. you can create the resources, and you can automate, you can do automation on top of Kubernetes, so that the automation can take care of the deployment of your applications. Okay, and similarly, using the Kubernetes platform, you can test, rollback, and deploy the applications to production environment. So you know the purpose of rollback, right? So when you roll out an application, if you have some issues with the latest patch, right, you can easily roll back to the previous version. So it hardly takes less than 20 seconds to roll back to the previous version. But if you use legacy VM environment, it takes almost like close to 2-3 hours to roll back to the previous version, because you have to either restore the backup, or you have to restore the snapshot. So this is a time-consuming process. But when you use it, but when it comes to Kubernetes, you can easily test, roll out, and roll back your application deployments within no time. Okay, and the next is flexibility. So when I say flexibility, we can also correlate this with the portability. So you have the flexibility to move these containers from one environment to another environment. You will have the flexibility to scale up and scale down the containers or applications. You also have the flexibility to create communication between multiple pods using your Istio, and they call it as microservices. So all these are possible using your Kubernetes platform. And finally, you can do zero downtime updates. So this is the most important feature. So whenever you are upgrading your Kubernetes environments, you don't need any downtime, not even a single second. Without without having the downtime, you can upgrade your entire Kubernetes platform. Okay, so these are some of the core benefits of using container platform, but there are a lot of other advantages, but due to time constraint, we will not be able to discuss this, but these are the core benefits of using the container platform. Okay, now, so the next question is, where can I run Kubernetes? So as I said, Kubernetes can be run either on cloud or on-prem, and it can also be run on hybrid environment like on-prem or cloud. So if you talk about cloud, you can see the cloud providers on the extreme right. You can run the Kubernetes platform on Google Cloud. They call it as Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE. And in Amazon, they call it as EKS, that is Amazon Elastic Cloud. And in Azure, they call it as Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. And in IBM Cloud, you can run Kubernetes on IBM Cloud, and they call it as IKS, that is IBM Cloud Kubernetes Service. So these are all the cloud vendors who are using Kubernetes, and they have named it as per their standards. So GKE, EKS, and AKS. Okay. And how about on-prem and hybrid cloud? Coming back to on-prem, you can use OpenShift. So OpenShift also uses Kubernetes at the backend. And the OpenShift is an enterprise product from Red Hat. Similarly, VMware Tanzu, Rancher, and Docker, they're all using Kubernetes as a backbone. Okay, so when you are using Kubernetes on an on-prem or hybrid environment, you can either choose Red Hat, VMware, Rancher, and there are a lot of other vendors who provide the enterprise Kubernetes platform. But these are the topmost vendors who provide the enterprise Kubernetes platform. Okay, so pretty much, if you learn Kubernetes, you can run Kubernetes platform on any of these platforms. And if you learn Kubernetes, it is easy for you to understand GKE or EKS or AKS or any kind of Kubernetes platform, because all these platforms, they leverage on Kubernetes. So if you learn Kubernetes, it will be easy for you to understand these technologies. Okay. Now, the next question that comes to my mind is, okay, you're good. So you understood what is container, you understood what is Kubernetes. And probably the one question that is revolving in your mind is, why do you have to learn Kubernetes? Probably you might be having 10 years or 15 years of experience, but still, why do you need to learn Kubernetes? So that's a question that that is revolving in your minds. So let's understand that. So why do you need to learn Kubernetes? So as I said, right, Kubernetes is an open source platform, right? What is open source? So open source is nothing but a software which can easily be downloaded and it can be used in any environment, whether it is production or non-production. But the problem with open source is who will support the product. Let's say if I am running a company and I'm using a Kubernetes platform to run my business. Now, if I have an issue with the Kubernetes platform, who is going to support? There should be someone who should support my Kubernetes environment, right? So if you use Kubernetes platform, as I said, it is open source, no one will be able to support, and you have to rely on the community, Kubernetes community, to fix the issue. Of course, you can leverage on Kubernetes you can leverage on community. There are a lot of people, millions of people working in the community, but you cannot run the show by using the open source platform, right? So you need an enterprise support, because every business has its own SLAs, service level agreements. You need to adhere to that SLAs, right? So to avoid that one, you need an enterprise platform. Okay, so we need to convert this open source Kubernetes platform to enterprise, so that this product can be used by the enterprise organizations. So these are the vendors who are relying or who are using Kubernetes as a backbone. So if you observe, there are cloud vendors like Google, Azure, and Alibaba who are using Kubernetes as the backend. And there's also IBM Cloud. Red Hat is using OpenShift. And similarly, Cisco, SUSE, Diamante, Rancher. There are a lot of other vendors I have not put in here, like HPE, Esmeralda. All these vendors have their own product, and those products, they use Kubernetes at the backend, and these vendors provide the enterprise support to the Kubernetes platform. So if you learn Kubernetes, you will be able to solve, or you will be able to manage any Kubernetes platform, whether it is Rancher, whether it is OpenShift, whether it is Docker, whether it is Diamante, because the core concept is same, right? Whether you use AWS or AKS, the core technology will not change, and the core commands and all will not change. So that's the advantage. If you learn Kubernetes, you will be able to manage the various Kubernetes platform running on various environments, whether it is on-prem or cloud environment. Okay, so that's the advantage of using learning Kubernetes. Okay, and the next thing, why the next answer for this question is high salaries. So of course, everyone is working for a better career opportunities and to get high salaries. So these are some of the survey from organizations where Kubernetes administrators are highly paid, and these are the different types of jobs that you can use: Kubernetes engineer, Docker Kubernetes, Kubernetes manager, Kubernetes administrator. There are lots and lots of jobs which are currently available in the market, and now Kubernetes is the top product the companies are using, and they are falling short of resources, technical resources. So remember, like 2 decades back, right, when I started my career, maybe 16-17 years ago, at that time virtual machines, the VMware concept was released, and there was a high boom in the virtual environment, and they were paying huge salaries for the persons who are VCP certified, VMware certified professionals. And the same era continued for 2 decades. Now, this is the time to shift your technologies from virtual machines to containers, that is Kubernetes platform. Now, the container platform, the market is booming up, and this will capture the market for another 2 to 3 decades. So this is the right time for you guys to learn, understand, get certified, and get a good pay and good jobs. Okay. And of course, if you see Kubernetes adoptions, 69% of the countries are adopting the Kubernetes environment, and the rest all goes with various other vendors. Okay, so the Kubernetes adoption is very rigorous. Maybe in another 2-3 years, you will not have a concept of virtual machines. If you observe, even VMware has released a container platform. They call it as Tanzu. Okay, so Tanzu, VMware has also come up with the container platform. Okay, so that indicates that going forward, maybe in 1-2 years, everything will be running on container platform. So it is a high time for you guys to learn and get certified on Kubernetes to capture the jobs that are currently available in the market. Okay. Yeah, so that's the 2 reasons that's a two reasons that you need to learn Kubernetes, because it's the right time to shift your technology from virtual machines to containers. Okay. All right. Yeah. So okay. So far you have understood what Kubernetes is, what are the advantages of Kubernetes, and why you need to learn Kubernetes. Now let's understand what are the types of certifications that Kubernetes has. Okay. So Kubernetes has 3 certifications. The first one is CKA, Certified Kubernetes Administrator. This certification gives an assurance that skills, knowledge, and competency to perform the Kubernetes administrative task. So CKA is for the administrators who wants to install, manage the Kubernetes platform. Okay, where in this CKA training, you will see how to install a cluster, how to configure a cluster, how to manage the nodes, how to club the resources, and all those infrastructure activities. Infrastructure activities are covered in this CKA training. Okay, and the next one is CKAD, which is Certified Kubernetes Application Developer. As the name itself implies, this is basically for developers, where we will concentrate more on applications. Again, when I say applications, we don't, as I said, we don't need any coding skills, because we are not writing any codes. Only thing that we cover in CKAD is how to deploy application, how to build, how to monitor, and how to scale your environments, and how to create a robust ecosystem using the container platform. So that will be discussed in CKAD. Okay, so more towards application deployment, all application deployments. Okay, and then last one is CKS, Certified Kubernetes Security Specialist. Again, the name itself indicates it is for security specialist. So if you wanted to build a secured Kubernetes platform, then this is the course that you need to take, where this course talks all about how you can securely manage and run the Kubernetes platform. So that is covered in the CKS certification, Kubernetes Security Specialist. Okay. All right. So that's the type of certifications. So now let's jump into the trainings that we can provide from Amrita. Okay. So for this, we can provide CKA and CKAD trainings. As far as CKA is concerned, this is the training content where we will talk about core concepts. We will talk about how to schedule the pods, And then we will also talk about logging monitoring, followed by the application lifecycle management, where we will see how to deploy an application, how to roll back, and how to upgrade, update your applications. And we will also talk about maintaining your clusters, patching your nodes, rebooting your nodes, scheduling the pods, and all those things will be discussed in the cluster maintenance. We will also touch base on the security, where we will also configure authentication and authorization on the Kubernetes platform. We will also talk about how containers can use storage using the persistent volumes. And we will also talk about some networking concept, like how networking is configured between the pods, between the nodes, and all the stuff. We will also talk about what ingress is. Ingress is a networking concept. We will also touch base on what ingress service is all about. And then we will also see how to install, configure your Kubernetes platform. And finally, we will also look at how to troubleshoot the environment. So this is a high-level overview of what we cover in the CKA training. Okay. And then, so coming part to CKAD, we'll talk about core concepts. Again, in order to learn CKAD, I would recommend that you also learn CKA. Okay? The reason is, in CKA, we don't talk about how to deploy, configure the cluster. We straight away look into how we can deploy the application and how we can manage the application on containers. But you will be missing the infrastructure portion when you directly opt the CKAD course. So I highly recommend you to start your journey with CKA, and then CKAD. But if you guys are already familiar with what Kubernetes platform is and how it works, then yes, you can definitely directly go with CKAD course. You don't have to do a CKA because you already know how the environment works. Okay. Coming back to CKAD, so we covered the core concept. We will talk about how to deploy pods, how to deploy how to create namespaces, how to write YAML files, how to create YAML files, and how to create definition files. And then we'll talk about configuration, like how to configure taint, tolerations, node affinities, config maps, secrets, and all those stuff. We'll also see how to configure a multi-container pods. As I said, as I have already told you, right? We can club the containers to multiple containers to form a pod. Okay, so we will also see how to create multi-container pods. We will also see observability, like configuring readiness and liveliness probes for the applications. We will also design the pods, by labeling, by enabling the selectors, by putting the annotations. You will also see how to do a rollback and rolling upgrades of an applications. We will also talk about servicing, what is service IP, cluster IP, ingress resources, and deploying the network policies and all those stuff. And we also talk about how to configure storages, how to attach the storages to the containers and all those stuff. Yes, there are some concepts which are overlapping between CKA and CKAD. I understand, but in CKA is for the infrastructure people who wanted to build, deploy a Kubernetes cluster either on-prem or on public clouds. But CKAD is maybe for developers who wanted to understand how container works on top of Kubernetes platform. So that's a key difference between CKA and CKAD. Okay, but in my view, even though your profile is infrastructure, I would recommend you to do CKA and CKAD. The reason is CKA is all your baby. Like as an infrastructure person, you have to know what is you have to know the concepts that are covered in CKA, but you also have to learn CKAD. That is the reason is, if the developer has issues deploying the application, right, definitely he will reach out to you saying that something is not working on the Kubernetes platform. Then you are the person who will be suggesting to the developer and you will guide him how to deploy and how to configure the application on container platform. So in order to guide the developer, you have to learn the CKAD. So if you learn CKAD, you will be the point of contact both for infrastructure and developers, and you can guide the developers and you can help them deploy the application on top of Kubernetes platform. Because if you don't know how to deploy an application, you will not be able to guide the developer. So that's the that's the gap. So that gap you need to fill by learning CKAD. But it all depends upon individual. So whether you want to go with CKA and CKAD, it all depends upon the individual. But my approach is to learn CKA first and then go with CKAD. So that completes your Kubernetes portfolio. Okay. Okay. So let's discuss like what is covered in the what is covered in the training. We have seen what is covered in the training, but we will also understand why you have to choose Amrita. Probably you might already been associated with Amrita for various courses, but for especially for CKA, what makes us unique from other training institutes. Okay, you probably you have a lot of other training centers they can teach CKA, but how we are different from other training centers. Okay, so as far as training is concerned, as I said, I am already working in the Kubernetes platform, and I have almost like close to 16 plus of years of experience, and I can answer all your real-time queries. And I'm currently working in the industry, and I know how this platform, Kubernetes platform, is used in various environments. So I will be able to guide you, help you to understand the technology. Okay. So, and the next thing is, of course, as I said, I can give you the real-time example. I can correlate how we have moved, how we will be moving from a legacy environment to the container environment. With the real examples, I can give you the difference between a container environment and a virtual environment. So and if you have any questions on container platform, definitely I will help you and I will make you understand, to make you understand to see how this technology works. Okay, and of course we do have remote labs. We do have remote labs. You can connect to the remote labs anytime based on your time zones, and you can straight away start practicing. We will also see how to deploy the Kubernetes platform in your local laptops. If you have local laptop, we can also configure the cluster on your laptop and you can practice. If you don't have the resources, you can definitely leverage on our lab to get trained on the Kubernetes platform. And of course, the main important point here is exam. I can also guide you to pass or to crack the exam. I can also train you, especially on the exam and how to answer the questions. And the exam is almost similar to the Red Hat exams. These are all performance-based exams. You will be given a live environment, and you will be given 2 hours of time where you need to solve 15 to 20 questions in the 2 hours. Okay, so I will also I can also guide you how to crack this exam. I know how to pass through the exam. Okay, both CKA and CKAD. Okay, that's the and remember this exams is not like it's keep on changing every 6 months. So I know there are a lot of candidates, my students who are also writing the exams. I have the updated updates from the exam environment, so I can easily assist you in clearing the exam as well. Okay, right. So let's jump on to the training cost and certification. So as far as training and certification is concerned, CKA, it's a 4 weeks training, which is on weekend, and the training cost is 10,000 and certification is 5,000, and it will cost you around 15,000 to to be trained on the platform and certification as well. Okay, that's the fees for CKA, and similarly CKAD is also 15,000, 10,000 for training, and 5,000 for certification training. Okay, and we do have a combo offer. So if you opt both CKA and CKAD, the training will be 10,000 and certification will be 5,000. So you will be saving around 5,000. So with 25,000, you can complete both CKA and CKAD. Okay. So as far as this CKA and CKAD will approximately take around 6 to 7 weeks, and CKA and CKAD will take 3 weekends. Okay. Yeah, and as far as training is concerned, we have remote labs. I will give you the the soft copy PDFs, and I will give you the lab exercise guide where you can practice the exercises. And if you practice all the lab exercises, it will be easy for you to crack the exam. Okay, so that's the last slide for the session today. And
one
yeah.
moment. This 5,000 is for certification or certification preparation?
Certification preparation, sorry, certification preparation.
Because $350 is the exam fee.
Exam
so
fee,
everybody will think that 5,000 is exam fee.
No, sorry, I'm wrong. So this is for certification training. So you, before writing certification, you have to buy the the exam voucher from the CNCF Foundation. I can also guide you how to book the exam slot and all. And the exam cost is 350 USD. Okay, so this 5,000 is only for the certification training. Okay. So, all right. So we have come to a conclusion. So any questions, you can unmute yourself, and you can ask any questions if you have.
Arvind, this is funny here.